Buongiorno a tutti. Ovviamente per ora in sala non siamo molti, ma sono molti collegati online sia per questioni geografiche che per questioni dovute appunto alla pandemia. Io dirò giusto 2 parole per iniziare questa giornata che per noi è estremamente importante, non per l'Accademia, ma io credo solo per l'Accademia di Roma, ma per tutto l'AFAM, perché è un momento di riflessione, sul terzo ciclo in modo particolare e sulla ricerca artistica. In qualche modo mi viene da sorridere pensando che bisogna definire la ricerca artistica. Per chi si occupa di arte o ha sempre frequentato l'arte, la ricerca è una sorta di pane quotidiano, quindi è anche difficile dover pensare di definire la ricerca artistica. Noi stiamo aspettando che ci sia una definizione con la certezza di sapere che cos'è la ricerca artistica, perché la facciamo tutti i giorni, la facciamo qui, la fanno soprattutto gli artisti che qui insegnano, qui vengono a fare appunto dei workshop per mostrare ai nostri ragazzi che cosa significa appunto la ricerca artistica, che è il filo rosso che dà continuità all'arte in Italia appunto da migliaia di anni in qualche modo. Sono molto lieta, abbiamo appunto esteso l'invito e è stato la ministra Messa è stata molto attenta a questa cosa e parlerà oggi per il MUR il direttore generale dell'internazionalizzazione, dottor Gianluigi Consoli, me lo sono ricordato, abbiamo appunto anche l'ANVUR nella persona del presidente e della dottoressa Maniaci. Abbiamo anche collegato l'assessore alla cultura, professor Miguel Gotor, e sono lieta che sia con noi anche un artista che dirige in questo momento la quadriennale, Gian Maria Tosatti, perché in qualche modo è una presenza doppia, un po' come la mia, no? Da artista interessato appunto alla ricerca, visto che quest'anno è anche l'artista che rappresenta l'Italia alla Biennale di Venezia, ma anche appunto come figura istituzionale di un ente che si occupa di ricerca da sempre. Dette queste poche parole, passo la parola al dottor Consoli, a cui chiedo di accomodarsi qua accanto a me.
Grazie. Grazie Rettore Casorati e grazie anche al Presidente Soriero per l'invito. I think I will proceed in English, maybe it's better. So good morning everyone. Firstly, I would like to express the Minister's great appreciation for this event. She sent his regards to all of you because she cannot be here today. I'm pleased with this occasion to be here and also bring, in summary, what is the strategy of the Ministry with respect to the sector of higher artistic education. I therefore thanks the organizer for this opportunity. As you know, in the recent years, there have been many developments in the image of the AFAM sector, which is no longer seen as an excellence in its own right, but as part of a system also made up of university and research bodies. All developments go in the direction of an ever greater rapprochement, especially between the institutions of higher artistic education and university institutions. Moreover, the ambition of the institutions of higher artistic education to participate in the research dimension has resulted in the possibility, which has been given to them in the recent years, to participate fully in calls dedicated to research, such as the PRIN, the research project of national relevance. As regards the European dimension to which we refer today, I must express my appreciation for the participation of the Academy of Rome in the EU for Art Alliance, and I underline that the declination that has been chosen for the acronym of the project, differences, summarize the spirit which, in my opinion, should guide the collaborations between the realities of different territories, not only in the artistic field, but in all fields. The EU for Art Differences project highlights in its intention the importance of developing a research community starting from the differences of the participating institutions, which are based on the differences in their respective social and cultural context. The arts require dialogue, cooperation, and exchange of knowledge, and the basic principle of cooperation is that it should be based on mutual respect, clarity, and level playing field. Italy looks favorably on the experience of the European alliances and believes that it's necessary to further promote cooperation between institutions at the European level, not only as already happens in the field of joint projects, but also in terms of training and the awarding of degrees. We also believe that integrating institutions from different countries leading to the creation of European-style degrees would be the natural evolution of the current experience represented by European Universities Initiative. In order to make careers and European higher education institutions more attractive, it is necessary to bridge the gap between the various national higher education systems, creating a shared framework for skills that can stimulate mobility within the European Union, promoting cohesion, and at the same time, encouraging those living outside the European Union to pursue part of their careers within its institutions. In recent weeks, we have been working to contribute among member states to the definition of the label attributed on the voluntary basis to join courses that respect a set of criteria shared at European level. This modality, foreseen by a call currently open, can provide an excellent basis for experiencing what will be in the future the European degree. The AFAM sector has great potential, and the ministry believes that it is an important part of the country's attractiveness. It is no coincidence that the ministry wanted to give great visibility to the AFAM institutions, also in participating in the Dubai Expo recently concluded. In order to reach the definition of academic paths in the AFAM sector, it is necessary to contribute in the effort aimed at adapting the international standards. We are convinced that to achieve this result, international collaborations with other institutions from which a comparison of ideas arises are essential. Therefore, I hope your projects can generate important results and set an example for the whole system. I thank you again, and I wish you a fruitful meeting. Thank you.
Graziamo molto dell'intervento. Passiamo la parola all'assessore alla cultura del Comune di Roma, professor Gotor.
Buongiorno a tutte e a tutti. Mi dispiace non poter essere in presenza, ma ieri, come ho spiegato agli organizzatori, una mia stretta collaboratrice è risultata positiva al Covid e quindi non era prudente che io fossi qui con voi in presenza. Adesso anche io tra poco dovrò andare a fare un tampone, ecco, per verificare le mie condizioni di salute. Mi scuso. Vi porto i saluti miei personali e quelli del sindaco Roberto Gualtieri, Ringrazio Cecilia Casorati e Pino Soriero per l'invito a questa vostra giornata di riflessione, confronto e per la ospitalità in questa pregevole cornice, quella dell'Accademia delle Belle Arti, che è erede della tradizione formativa della più antica accademia e istituzione cittadina dedicata all'arte, con una storia plurisecolare, no? L'Accademia di San Luca. E un sentito grazie anche a tutti voi. Ho avuto modo di incontrarvi in assessorato alla cultura, di apprezzare il vostro impegno nel complesso, articolato campo dell'alta formazione artistica, che come tanti altri ambiti culturali naturalmente è stato pesantemente condizionato negli ultimi 2 anni dalla vicenda sanitaria. John Locke, il filosofo John Locke, nel suo saggio sull'intelletto umano teorizza che le diverse forme di conoscenza derivano esclusivamente dalle esperienze sensoriali, dagli stimoli fisici a cui una persona è sottoposta, e andando da un luogo all'altro, spostandosi, cambiando il campo delle sensazioni, secondo il filosofo inglese, le nostre capacità e le nostre conoscenze cambiano, si affinano, e l'apprendimento di conseguenza non sarebbe dipendente soltanto da processi organizzati e avvenire in luoghi formalizzati. No, esisterebbe un luogo, uno spazio, un ambiente d'apprendimento diffuso, capace di stimolare delle conoscenze significative, una educazione informale, secondo Locke, per cui appunto il viaggio è senza dubbio tra le più significative, perché il viaggio consente l'incontro con il diverso, l'incontro con l'estraneo, l'incontro con chi è differente da noi, e permette di ampliare, di espandere il proprio punto di vista. Parliamo naturalmente di un viaggio esteriore, di un viaggio in cui ci spostiamo nello spazio, ma parliamo anche di un viaggio interiore, di un viaggio che può avvenire all'interno della nostra coscienza. E il viaggio in Europa naturalmente ha le sue radici, come sappiamo, nel Grand Tour, radici culturali che a partire almeno dal Settecento segnava il passaggio dall'età adulta verso l'età adulta dei giovani aristocratici. Viaggiare per imparare, viaggiare per condividere è anche il progetto di un viaggio più contemporaneo, del viaggio che hanno compiuto le giovani generazioni negli ultimi 30 anni, negli ultimi 35 anni di esistenza, con il progetto Erasmus, che ha consentito di aprirsi agli scambi fra gli stati. Oltre 12 milioni di studenti dal 1987 a oggi hanno fatto questo genere di esperienza, un vero esercito di pace, che ha contribuito da un lato a modificare il modo con il quale fra di noi percepiamo l'Europa, e dall'altro tra i più giovani effettivamente è servito a costruire, a edificare un'idea di Europa. Il programma EU for Art intende inserirsi in questo solco e con la sua sperimentazione creare un orizzonte europeo in ambito artistico, naturalmente, per le giovani generazioni, una sorta di casa comune in cui mescolare l'importanza delle radici dei europee e anche il significato dell'esplorazione, dell'innovazione, del contatto della pluralità delle esperienze. E in questo modo, in un settore fondamentale come la formazione, si dà vita e si può dare vita a dei meccanismi che facilitano la mobilità degli studenti, la mobilità dei docenti, creare dei programmi di formazione comuni, insomma una università europea dell'istruzione artistica che non abbia frontiere, che non abbia barriere burocratiche, che nelle intenzioni possa essere il più possibile libera, esattamente come deve essere il processo creativo legato all'arte. Questo progetto è assolutamente in linea con la natura e con l'identità stessa di Roma come città universale della cultura, della storia, del sapere, delle arti, e quindi non possiamo che non vedere con grande favore un progetto simile, un progetto didattico, culturale, che appunto contribuisce a dare vita a un'Europa che sia il più possibile unita intorno ai giovani e intorno ai loro talenti. Io spero che il prossimo incontro, e concludo su questo, si possa tenere nei nuovi spazi dell'Accademia delle Belle Arti che abbiamo immaginato nello spazio del mattatoio del Testaccio, dove appunto c'è una città delle arti, c'è un grande investimento del PNRR di circa 50 milioni di euro che unisce sia uno sforzo pubblico del Comune, del Governo e anche di Roma 3, che modificherà quello spazio, e in quello spazio l'Accademia delle Belle Arti avrà un suo punto molto importante, molto prestigioso di azione e di attività. Io vi saluto e vi auguro buon lavoro. Grazie.
Ringraziamo l'assessore Gotor che appunto ha anche svelato i progetti dell'Accademia, diciamo i futuri progetti dell'Accademia rispetto agli spazi, e passo la parola al professor Antonio Felice Uricchio, presidente dell'ANVUR.
Grazie per l'invito, grazie al professore Casorati, grazie al professor Soriero. Many thanks for the invitation and for the opportunity to discuss with you about a very important topic, even for our agency. I am the president of the Italian Agency of Evaluation, and Marilena Magnaci, who is still member of our board of administration, is with you, so she will continue after my personal introduction. Thanks a lot for the invitation and for the opportunity to discuss about this topic, the concept of product of artistic research. There is a huge connection between art and science. As Victor Hugo said, art and science is a common base, and the common base is to know and to create. And I'm sure that your discussion, and I hope still new rules about the PQR devoted to AFAM sector will improve the concept of product of research. According to our agency, the product of our research have an open concept. So it's very important to promote the different topics of artistic research, and our activity devoted to PQR of university has underlined the opportunity of an open concept of product of research. This afternoon, we will discuss about the results of our BQR, the third exercise of BQR of university, a research institution, and other institutions voluntarily submitted their product. And we hope that the next exercise of BQR will include the AFAM sector. Of course, it's very important the new rules, but we have experience, of course, and ANVUR as a disposal to follow this process and to cooperate with you. Thanks again to Professor Casorati, to Professor Soriero. I saluto Professor Gotor. I remember him when we were in the University of Bari, when I was rector, and we discussed about Aldo Moro. The Gotor has devoted a very important essay about Aldo Moro history. Thanks again, and I leave the floor to Maritena Magnacci, that is in your very important conference. Thanks again. Bye.
Now we step the word to Marilena Magnacci del ANVUR.
Yes, good morning to everybody. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very pleased to attend in presence at least part of this important event. In the afternoon, as Professor Uricchio said, I will have to join the final presentation of the evaluation of research quality for universities. But I'm very happy to be here to attend part of this event that combines the presentation of the partial result of an important international scientific project and the opportunity to address from different points of view, but with a shared approach, the central and very topical issue of the evaluation, of the definition, promotion, and evaluation of artistic research, which is, of course, closely linked to the establishment of a third cycle offer specific to AFAM institutions. Well, I'm a member of ANVUR governing board, and I am the one in charge both for AFAM institutions and for international activities. So I'm particularly sensitive to the issues that will be debated today. ANVUR is convincingly promoting the gradual introduction of a comprehensive quality assurance system in the sector of higher education, higher artistic and musical education, a path that is notoriously complicated by the absence of a comprehensive regulatory framework. But we are investing heavily in this direction, since we are convinced that quality assurance is a tool for growth, is a tool for enhancing the extraordinary work carried out by higher education institutions in the field of music, dance, and the arts, with peaks of excellence recognized as at an international level. This certainly complex path requires a shared effort and needs to be placed in a resolutely international perspective, which is also taking a certain place in the debate concerning the university sector, as Dr. Consoli has said at the beginning. So ANVUR is fully aware of this, and it has been promoting for some years now an intense and fruitful dialogue, not only with Italian institutions, but also with European agencies, so music and ICARTS, and with the leaders of some of the most qualified international artistic and musical higher education and research experiences. This can be witnessed also by Professor Butler, who participated in an animated and international group of experts appointed by ANVUR a couple of years ago to formulate proposals and recommendations to the ANVUR governing board for the definition of guidelines for self-assessment activities of the AFAM institutions, for the annual evaluation report of the internal assessment units, and also it was tasked to develop a proposal for a periodic evaluation protocol similar to the one in use for university institutions, but adapted to the specificities of the AFAM world, and of course in line with the ESG 2015, so the European standards and guidelines for quality assurance in the European higher education area. I would like also to emphasize how the Academy of Fine Arts of Roma, so l'Accademia di Belle Arti, has distinguished itself for being able to take up the important challenges that the AFAM world is called upon to face in this particularly significant and lively phase. And it has also demonstrated, while waiting for the establishment of doctoral programs in music and the arts, by its collaboration with the university system in the proposal of new PhD courses in consortium with universities and other AFAM institutions. Well, the governing board of ANVUR is called to approve these courses tomorrow, and I cannot say anything then today, but well, I can announce that I'm confident that there are good prospects of success. So I wish all the speakers and participants to this beautiful event a rich and fruitful work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now we get to the art of this meeting. I would thank you, our professor and the professor from the Hungarian University of Fine Arts and the Hochschule Dresden and the Art Academy of Latvia. And I step the word to Professor Barbieri, and we will start. Thank you very much.
I am very, very delighted to introduce Professor Till Asger Baumhauer. I don't know if he's connected. Yes, he is. Good morning, Till. Yes. Good morning, Till. Good morning. And a very short biography about Till, who is our leader in the project of EU for Art. Since 2013, he taught artistic research and research-led artistic practice at Bauhaus University, Weimar, University of Applied Arts in Vienna, Hildesheim and Osnabrück universities, Vietnam University of Fine Arts, Hanoi, so it's a very spread activity, a global activity, we could say. His artistic and academic focus is on collective memory and the depiction of violence experience, collaborative artistic strategies, and the intercultural understanding of images. So let me introduce and give word to Till, Professor Baumgarten.
Thank you very much. I just have to say, I don't have a professor's position in this project. I'm just the project leader and content manager. And now I try to, I hope that you see my presentation already. I just try to go to the screen presentation. Yeah, so thank you very much for being invited to talk at this important conference, which is a real highlight of our joint work. I will just try to introduce you the artistic research within the EU for Art Differences project, which I'm, as I already said, so I will just try to rush through it without forcing you into a too terrific tour de force. And dear Cecilia, dear Costanza, please indicate to me when I only have 5 minutes left so that I will just manage to wrap it up. So, well, just a short overview of the project. It consists of the 4 alliance partners in Dresden, Riga, Rome, and Budapest, and it is funded from 1st of January of last year to 31st of December of next year, so 3 years. Its focus is artistic research involving questions of R&I, focusing on third cycle models, outreach to the academic field, to society, and to economy. And below you also see our brand new website. As a general question in the beginning, why is artistic research so interesting for artists? In fact, it's a possibility to enrich and to extend the field of artistic practice and to find new ways of working in the artistic field. It is connected to the academic discourse and to interdisciplinary approaches, as well as to community aspects, which makes it relevant in the overall societal discourse. And it tries to make artistic knowledge, which we much too often don't understand as a knowledge or as artistic practice, as a sort of knowledge production, to make that fruitful beyond the studio and the gallery. So, in fact, it is a practice in academia and not mainly within the art market system, and it is an option to reach an academic doctoral degree, for example, in the third cycle. Apart from that, of course, everybody who does artistic research has a lot of personal and research-related aspects which he follows. Now, to change the viewpoint for art academies, artistic research is an exciting possibility to offer more, not only job perspectives for the future of the students, but it's a chance to diversify the field of teaching artistic practice and to create international levels of exchange, as well inside the academy as outside, also connecting fine arts to other departments beyond the traditional ones like aesthetics and art history. As well, it has potential to create connections and cooperation outside the artistic and pedagogical field, so to go either to as a form of outreach to society in terms of a third mission, into the public, or to academia and economy. And of course, it's a very important opportunity to offer academic doctoral degrees in the third cycle to fine arts, which, as you know, is not possible in every country and in every region. So this is also a shift in how artistic practice is perceived in comparison to the scientific and academic field. As well, of course, a practical aspect is that it makes it possible, at least in some countries, that academies get access to science-related fundings for artistic research processes and projects. And in general, on a political level, it's an option to strengthen arts in general in the context of the European research area. So there's also a political level behind that, which we shouldn't forget. Just to introduce very quickly the project and its work packages. The project consists of 5 different work packages focusing on artistic research from different angles. Of course, we have a project management work package led by my colleague Claudia Reichert here in Dresden, which focuses on creating a framework for the project, managing the project and coordinating the exchange with the European Committee, as well as analyzing the risks and taking care of the project as an overall process. To go to the next work package, which is led by our dear colleague Adam Albert from Budapest Academy of Fine Arts. This work package has the task to create fine art labs for artistic research as a sort of R&I labs in the academic field. And below this main headline, we can list that they provide a theoretical methodological framework for the labs. They develop solutions and recommendations on how R&I can be implemented in fine arts academies. They are also responsible for setting up pilot lab at all 4 universities with a long-term perspective. But at this point, it should already be said that of that project are decentralized. So the tasks we want and have to fulfill also are strongly related to the local contexts and to the local networks. Apart from that, this work package creates innovative ideas to make academic careers more attractive also for artists, and it develops recommendations on intellectual property rules, which is also quite important. The next work package, which I am the leader of as well, is to develop an R&I agenda and to work on the transfer to citizens and society, which includes a framework for joint and local research processes, as well as quality management, which is a difficult but really important field, as was already mentioned. We also focus on internationalization and mobility of the PhD candidates and of the students joining the program, which also leads to a knowledge transfer within the academies, but also towards sciences, society, and economy. Work package 4, which is led by Franco Ripa di Meana, the great colleague from Roma, who also organized today's conference, focuses on a creative ecosystem in fine arts and in artistic research. So it explores the tension between cultural production and economic exploitation and use through webinars and trainings. There are also other courses and trainings that are developed by the partners in Rome. They created a great survey on the third cycle models in artistic research in Europe, together with the colleagues from Budapest. And they work on a so-called virtual atelier, which is a new way to discuss art pedagogy in hybrid formats, not only in presence, but also online and as well. So there are new teaching methodologies and new hybrid tools to be developed by the colleagues from Rome as well, and they have already been developed. The last work package of our colleagues from Riga focus on dissemination and sustainability. They raise public awareness, they develop a common communication strategy and communication inside the academies, inside the alliance, and also to the broader public. They disseminate our R&I and they publish the research and innovation results. Just to give you an image which creates maybe an idea of how the academies work together. So every work package is led by a different academy. Every academy is involved in all work packages, and a content management team coming from all 4 academies with 1 speaker, and a project manager is then referring to the steering committee and to the advisory board. The steering committee are the rectors and chancellors of the academies usually. So the main objectives are obviously to focus on the third cycle in fine arts in the 4 partner academies and to discuss potentials of artistic practice as research and knowledge and to produce insight. It raises our academy's research profiles, which is quite important for fine arts academies because research profiles usually they are not too visible in comparison to scientific institutions. And we, of course, want to boost opportunities for artistic and research collaborations in our alliance and apart from that. This all leads to a promotion of culture of research, of artistic research, a cooperation with the departments of our alliance partners, and of course also to create peer groups, twinning groups, and strengthen collaboration in R&I centers as fine arts and research labs or schools, as already mentioned, and it of course executes outreach to society and empowers artists, of course, to make their artistic practice relevant and visible in society. As I already said, the 4 academies have very different contexts and backgrounds. So the lab of each partner university, the lab for artistic research, is the place where artistic research takes place within the project, and it allows every academy to develop their own profile for artistic research, if this profile does not already exist. It also allows the students to be in exchange between the different academies and to find colleagues and teachers that are connected to their research questions, so that a broader network of discourse can be created. And of course, this all is discussed in joint meetings, workshops, and projects in order to explore the whole variety of possibilities in artistic research. And the starting point, as you might know, is that 2 of the partner universities already have doctoral programs with a focus on artistic research, whereas 2 other partners had different or no structures for the 3rd cycle at the beginning of the project. So let's have a glimpse into that quickly. The partner university at Budapest has a doctoral school since 2002. Its current dean, Kicsinyi Balázs, is with that is offered is a Doctor of Liberal Arts. The program is quite open to different artistic approaches and also to applied approaches as stage and costume design and restoration, with a 10-semester curriculum, of which the last semesters mostly focus on writing the thesis, while after the first 2 years there's a complex exam to allow you to continue. And what I find important is that there's a high flexibility about the relation between artistic production and the text production within the projects. So the various fields of the possible doctorates, as you can see from the different artistic and applied arts approaches, also create the need to have a broad approach towards research methodologies in the context of the arts. The 2nd doctoral school in our alliance only started last year in Riga. It is a joint doctoral program of the Latvian Academy of Fine Arts with the Academy of Music in Riga and the Latvian Academy of Culture. It offers weekly intense interdisciplinary and joint theoretical training programs. And this happens also in the field of fine arts design, intermedia, music, film, and literature, with a degree of a PhD degree, which is not yet conformed, after a 6-semester curriculum. And the proportion between artistic practice and text should be equal. That's a difference to the program in Budapest. The various fields of possible doctorates also create the need to a broad approach towards research methodologies in the context of the arts.
Sorry, T.
Yes.
May I ask you to share your presentation again, because we don't see it.
Oh, did you see it? Did you see? Didn't you see anything on?
No, we don't see anything.
Just the last, just the last slide.
The last part, just the last part.
Okay, just a moment. I'm very sorry.
No, don't worry. Because someone else has shared the screen. So you just need to share again.
Okay.
And from the Riga slide, because we have seen your presentation up to there.
The Riga slide. Yes, exactly. One moment. Just a moment. Yes, here we are. Oops, now it just jumped, so give me a second. Yes, so Riga started last year. It's a joint doctoral program with the Academy of Fine Arts, the Academy of Music, and the Academy of Culture. And they have a weekly intense theoretical training program in the field of fine arts, design, intermedia, music, film, and literature with a degree PhD, which is not conformed yet, which is given usually after a 6-semester study time with a fixed curriculum, and the proportion between artistic practice and text part.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes?
We are looking at the focus on artistic research. So this is one of the first slides. Oh, okay. Now we have it. No, now there's not anymore. So can you go back to the last one?
Yes, of course.
There is probably some connection problem.
Now I always have to switch through it. So do you see LMA now? The Doctoral School of Riga?
No, we don't see. We just see you. You have to share again, probably the screen?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, just a moment. already shared it, but do you see the shared screen now with LMA Doctoral School?
Not yet, probably.
Because it tells me that it is shared.
Okay, now we have
well,
it. Now we have it. Thank you.
Okay, fine, great. So, but nevertheless, I would go to the next slide, to Roma. I hope you see it now. Yes? Is it okay? Roma?
We see there is some delay, so we are looking at the Riga slide. Okay, now it is. It's just a little bit delayed, so now we have it.
Okay.
Okay.
So hopefully we can deal with that. So here I want to quote what my Roman colleagues told me, because they know much better than I. But until the beginning of the EU Far Difference project, there was no existing third cycle in fine arts in Italy, and now there are two new models of doctorate programs, which, like as we heard, will be evaluated and assessed in the very next time. One of them is, to quote, the first one included in the framework of the doctorates of national interest and presented by a consortium formed by the University of Tor Vergata, the Academy of Rome, and other fine arts academies, will be dedicated to cultural heritage communication and valorization sciences. The Academy of Rome will activate 2 scholarships for a new media and for cultural heritage curriculum. And the second one, the second PhD, was presented by a consortium formed by the University of Roma 3, Roma, the National Academy of Dance, and the Silvio D'Amico Academy of Dramatic Art, and will have a single curriculum in performing arts, for which the Academy of Rome will activate a scholarship. So art and research here are intertwining on different levels. They follow scientific approaches and performative empirical production of knowledge, and junior researchers are working in the project as well. Now I go to the next slide. I hope you can see it. This goes to HFBK of Dresden, which in the current situation up to now had a program, a postgraduate program called Meisterschüler, Master Scholar Studies in Fine Arts and Stage Design, and it does not have a legal framework for PhDs at the moment. This is also a political level that has to be worked on. The Meisterschüler program brings together 5 semesters of artistic practice supervised by an artistic professor in a very free structure with a Meisterschüler exam and degree, without a joint curriculum. So it's really focusing on single artistic positions. And apart from that, we have a postgraduate and doctoral studies program in art therapy in Dresden. But what we want to bring is a pilot phase of the lab from October, which offers a 2-semester curriculum on artistic research, including its methodologies and research skills, writing skills, and curating, just to enable students to approach their work and their activity in the public field in a different way. We have 10 students in the group with small scholarships. They come from different fields of fine arts and art therapy, and we are going to build a basis for a program to be implemented in future from all this. Right now, I just want to show you, just give you an impression about the network which the project has created during the last 1.5 years. So you can see there is a quite complex and numerous network of protagonists from the fine arts field, from the art history field, and from the society field. And this allows us to also hopefully do a really complex and good job. Just a short hop to our research and innovation agenda, just to make a little bit more clear how tricky sometimes it can be to work on that from the position of fine arts academies. Of course, we focus on high quality artistic practice and research, and of course, we all focus on the third cycle. Internationalization is a very important point to us, as well as inclusivity and working in an adequate way with the employees and focusing on staff aspects. And last not least, of course, follow the third mission, which allows us to approach society as a broad context. But of course, there are also some difficulties because R&I is traditionally not a main task in artistic education. So the frameworks we come from originally are not the frameworks scientific universities have established during the last decades. That makes it not so easy to be active in the way we try to. But well, we are all learning quite a lot in that project. And of course, also the system of education and the academic careers are really different in fine arts from scientific careers. So we also have to deal with different concepts and models of career perspectives. Last not least, of course, also research ethics and integrity are an important point, which, if you come from the concept of artistic freedom, of course, pose other questions than in sciences, probably. I would like to end just highlighting some important things we managed to realize during the last 18 months. For each work package, just 2 examples. The management work package did a project management manual and developed structures for sharing all the material knowledge and skills that we bring into the group. We participate regularly in East European Committee working groups on R&I, on quality assessment, and we develop joint approaches with other European universities alliances. In terms of the artistic research labs, we had a joint research on third cycle artistic research models in Europe, which is extremely helpful and much more elaborate than any database existing up to now. We have developed new lab structures, and for the work package 3, for the outreach, there might be mentioned one cooperation with the architecture faculty in Dresden to work together with artists and architects, and also a symposium and conference on artistic research, which just happened recently 10 days ago. Finally, our colleagues from Rome developed the didactical tool COBI, which I find really fascinating, and we are very much looking forward to the summer school near Rome in September of this year. While the work package 5 has been able to realize our project website some time ago and the really important project portal on the research catalog, which makes our research output visible to the broader community, also through press conferences. And I think I'm already very much over time. But thank you very much for your interest, and yes, I would like to stop here and stop my screen sharing.
Thank you very much, Till, for the presentation of the project and for all the information, very useful. Let me give the word to our Presidente, who would like to speak before the next talk. So now just, okay, please, okay. Please.
Sì. Oh, good morning, thank you all. I am very glad to meet you and to speak with you and to understand better this important project. But I continue in Italian to vorrei ringraziare assieme a voi che avete promosso, alla direttrice Casorati e ai docenti che hanno promosso e che coordinano questo importante progetto, gli ospiti che ci hanno onorato della loro presenza, il direttore generale del Ministero, il presidente dell'ANVUR, la dirigente dell'ANVUR, la dottoressa Miniaci, e saluto l'assessore Gotor che ha inteso sottolineare, accanto al valore culturale e scientifico di questo evento, anche il valore simbolico. Voi ricordate nella nota di presentazione dell'evento che fu proprio l'Accademia di Belle Arti di Roma a fine Ottocento a istituire il primo esempio di dottorato. Qui, come ha ricordato anche la direttrice, la professoressa Casorati, colgo una connessione simbolica nel raccordo con l'impostazione poi di una serie di eventi che segneranno la valorizzazione del centenario dell'Accademia, con riferimento alla propria storia, ma anche con riferimento al proprio futuro. Ringrazio ancora l'assessore Gotor che assieme al sindaco della città, l'onorevole Roberto Gualtieri, sta segnalando, così anche Tobia Zevi, l'assessore al patrimonio, stanno segnalando un'attenzione continua, forte e che ricarica di entusiasmo l'Accademia di Belle Arti di Roma nella proiezione verso la nuova sede che sarà al Testaccio a Campo Boario, ma a partire dalle radici che rappresenta questa historical location and this hall. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Presidente Soriero, for this important connection. We will discuss it we'll discuss it again. And now, let me introduce Professor Bruce Brown, who is one of the responsible for the quality assessment in artistic research, and especially is one of the representative of EQ Art. He graduated at the Royal College of Art in London and now is visiting professor in the same institution. And during his international career, he chaired the main panels for arts and humanities in the UK Research Excellence Framework and the Research Assessment Exercise in 2008. Recently, he was appointed chairperson for the Creative Art Panel for the Hong Kong Research Assessment Exercise 2020, the Research Grants Panel for Fundação para a Ciência e a Tecnologia in Portugal, and the Review of Arts Doctoral Awards for the Estonian Quality Agency. He was one of 4 people invited by the Portuguese government to conduct an international review titled Reforming Arts and Culture Higher Education in Portugal. He also worked for Israel, Qatar, New Zealand, etc. So please welcome Professor Bruce Brown, who is going to speak now. Thank you very much. We are honored of your intervention.
Thank you. Well, I'm very conscious that when in Rome, I have to apologize for not being able to address you in Italian, but I will do my very best to speak clearly in Scottish throughout this presentation. Now, I've been asked to speak for 25 minutes, which I will try to keep to, and if I can share my presentation, I've been asked to speak on behalf of EQ Arts, which I'll explain in a minute, on quality assessment in artistic research and third cycle for the arts. Now, before I start this, which may be rather structural in its content, one of the things I would like to suggest is that at the end of the day, we all need to know why artistic research matters and why third cycle degrees or doctorates in the arts matter. And if you were asked that question, what would you say? My answer to this is, and there may be many answers, my answer is that in the 20th century, a very well-known economist called Letheby said that the world was suffering from three poverties. The first poverty was famine, the second poverty was disease, and the third poverty was war. In the 21st century, I'd like to add one further poverty to that. Given the problems we face, I think we are suffering from a poverty of imagination. And what's happened is that all of the logical forms of research and examination are not delivering the radical results we need to deal with big issues like climate change and political instability and so on. And it's through a doctorate in the arts that I believe these properties of imagination can be applied to real world problems that are a benefit to society. So it is essential for me. Now let me just go through and explain, first of all, what EQ Arts is and some of the issues that we have been involved with as we've done our work. Now, first of all, EQ Arts is an independent agency, and we're listed on the European Quality Assurance Register. And so we have powers of accreditation when asked to undertake some work looking at proposals for degrees, whether first, second, or third cycle. EQ Arts also specializes in quality assurance across the arts and design, which is very important when you're dealing with accreditation or awarding bodies that have a broad range of experience and are not so conversant with research in the arts. And we can offer a bridge which helps to translate some of those characteristics into the mainstream system. And I have to say that one of the items on EQ Arts' plan is to be a champion of the development of artistic research across Europe and of third cycle degrees. And in doing this work, we've undertaken reviews on behalf of national accreditation agencies and institutions. So I'd like to say a little bit about the structure of this validation process, because one of the things I think the previous speaker has already pointed out, that the picture across Europe is very, very different. There are some countries where PhDs and third cycle doctorates have grown enormously in the last 5 to 10 years, and there are others where it is impossible almost to get accreditation or alliance to be involved in doctoral work. So the elements in this kind of cycle of approval are accreditation agencies, and the role of an accreditation agency is to award a license, and it licenses a body to award a degree at a particular level, and in this case it would be third cycle degrees. So theirs is a legal role, and these are usually based at the level of a country operation. The second part of this chain is the awarding body. Now, the role of the awarding body is to award the degrees, and the awarding body rather deals with the governance of the process. So it's how you deal with examination procedures, how you deal with ongoing quality assurance, and how you deal with the appeals process. So the awarding body will make a proposal to an accreditation agency to be licensed, and that proposal will include these governing characteristics. The third element in this is the teaching institution, and its role is to deliver the academic program, and that is the academic content of the program, along with assessment and examination. And if there were any changes to that program, then it would normally be proposed and agreed to by the awarding body. And of course, in many cases, the awarding body and the teaching institution may be the same institution. They may not be separate. So in a university, say, for example, that has a faculty of arts, the teaching institution might be part of the governance framework of that body. However, the picture across Europe is that in many of the specialist institutions for the arts, they do not have the broad infrastructural arrangements that allow them to easily gain a legal license to award doctoral programs. So what they do, many, is they go, there are some exceptions of course, but what they do is they go to an awarding body that has a license and seeks to work through them. So accreditation agencies are national agencies that offer a legal license to award these third cycle degrees. The awarding body is usually a university or academy, and the specialist arts institutions often deliver the program, either if they're accredited, but that's highly unusual. Sometimes it's true, but mostly under the governance of an awarding body, which is a university academy. Now, alongside this, these agencies are within a country. Alongside this sits EQ Arts. And EQ Arts is an independent body that does not have any legal powers other than the process of accreditation. And what EQ Arts will do is to work with a national agency if it's received a proposal, a doctoral proposal in the arts from an awarding body. And it may be contracted to advise that national agency on whether the award should be considered to be licensed or considered not to be licensed. It is then up to the national agency, the accreditation agency, to decide whether to accept that recommendation or not. Now, these licenses usually last for a period. They sometimes last for 5 years, and there is therefore a renewal. And at that point, EQ Arts works independently on a revalidation process after 5 years to see if the standards are being maintained and to ensure that all of the things that are agreed in the license are being undertaken and seen through. But of course, the role that EQ Arts has here is also an enhancement role. It's not simply to deliver threshold standards, but it's to ensure the continuous improvement of the work and of the program. And if there are institutions that simply cannot find a way of being licensed to offer degrees at third cycle, and these are specialist institutions like the art academies, then EQ Arts can engage with them offering reviews. And these do not go to national agencies or universities. These stay within the ownership of the specialist institution. And these advise the institution on their current development, maturity, and what they may need to do to meet the requirements of accreditation. So EQ Arts works in that forum as an independent agency outside countries. And as you will see in a minute, EQ Arts does not impose requirements on countries or universities on the nature of a degree. It simply offers us best practices and offers judgments on them. The licensing and the character of the degree stays with the awarding body and with the accreditation agency, not with EQ Arts. So the advantages of EQ Arts having this role in accreditation is because of its expertise in areas of artistic research and quality assurance and enhancement in the arts. And the second is, and this is important, what EQ Arts can offer, because it works across countries, is an equivalence of standards between institutions and across borders. And this is very important because if a student in one country enters a third cycle doctoral award, they would want to know that the quality of that award or the level of that award is the same as it would be in another country. It's not higher, it's not lower, but there is an equivalence of standards. And that's something that EQ Arts can help to moderate. And the third advantage is that it offers a transferability between other countries, organizations, and employers. And you will see later when we talk about types of doctorates, certainly where employers are involved, there are issues of trust here, and particularly with parents as well, who are maybe funding their children to undertake doctoral degrees. The trust issue is very important. What EQ Arts offers is a guarantee of standards which allows employers, parents, and other organizations to engage with it and to offer other forms of transferability. Now, the work that we do is encapsulated in this brochure, and I'll tell you at the end of the talk where you can find this if you would like to receive it as a free download. This was written for, and you'll hear about it later, an experiment called the CRD, which is the Creator Doctus program, which was an Erasmus Plus program. And it was specifically aimed at doctoral degrees in practice-based areas where the substantial body of the thesis may not be textual. It may be in non-textual forms. And a characteristic of this award also was that a requirement of each program was that it had to work with a societal partner as part of the program's work. Now, what EQ Arts has done here is to provide a framework of good practices, not simply for the Creative Doctors program, but the practice you would expect for all doctoral programs seeking accreditation. So this handbook could be valuable to anybody who wants to use it. And as I say, there will be a free download at the end, the link for it. Now, I can't go into all of the details of this, but I'd like to just talk about a few contextual issues. I've tried to explain why I think that PhDs are important in society today. There are two other reasons. Doctoral awards are educating researchers of the future. And it is a big investment in what the future of artistic research will be like in 10, 20, 30 years. And if we don't invest now, we will not have that reward in the future. So that pipeline is important. But the other thing that's very important with a good doctoral program is that the students who graduate often go on to different careers. They don't always stay in the arts. And they often hold very influential positions in different types of organizations. So what the PhD net provides is a network of influential graduates that themselves can become opinion makers. So generally, there are a lot of gains in third cycle awards that are beyond the curriculum and the design of it. Now, let me just kind of go across that we would talk about. They may seem basic, but they're often important to reiterate in accreditation exercises. We would expect somebody proposing a third cycle degree to be very clear about what they consider the purpose of the doctorate is. And there is often some confusion about this and what the balance is. Now, I'm not saying the following examples are absolute. They are simply examples, and you may, in the audience, have different answers to some of these questions. So the first purpose of our doctorate, I would say, is research training. And what it does, it provides research training in the arts, especially where non-textual forms of research evidence are prevalent. And that's very important because most accreditation systems run through, if they're not through specialist institutions in the arts, they run through modern universities, where still in accreditation processes, the discovery sciences are very much the dominant part of the methodology. But here there is a different methodology, which is dealing with visual or other forms of non-textual evidence. And one of the things I think we all have to accept is that because these sorts of degrees have not been running for so long, there is still a lot of work to do to develop new forms of scholarship that embrace types of evidence such as images, objects, environments, or an integration of these with text. And the balance is a matter of judgment in each specific case. But the scholarship of the traditional discovery sciences is very useful for those forms of activity. What we need to develop is new forms of scholarship for particular areas of activity in the artistic research. And that is still something that's maturing. The second purpose of a doctorate, I would say, is new insights. Say to add to the knowledge pool of an academic field or a professional area. And here I've chosen the words carefully. It's new insights rather than new knowledge. And I'll come back to this later. There is a view in discovery science that the purpose is new knowledge. Well, actually, in many areas of the arts, the priority is to contest existing knowledge in order to discover its limitations. And that's a very different objective. And that's particularly true in the fine arts, I would say. But what that leads to is new insights. And it's those insights that matter. So the role is, in terms of insight, to add to the knowledge pool. And that is by questioning the boundaries of existing knowledge in order to determine its limitations. The third purpose is personal development. And I find that this isn't often profiled as much as it should be. And what a doctoral experience will do, a good one, is to help each doctoral student develop the intellectual and creative scaffolding to manage many forms of complexity in a fragile world. And it's often for this reason that doctoral students, whether in artistic research or another area, go into other professions or other forms of activity in which the intellectual scaffolding they have developed is a valuable commodity in helping to solve problems and to deal with complex situations. So that in that very particular sense, the doctoral experience has an integrated quality that is valuable in itself. Now, many of the doctoral proposals that we see don't really balance out these three priorities. Some don't mention research training, or if they do, it's very inconsequential. Some don't really mention research development, but these are balances that we need to try and flesh out in each of the proposals. Let me say a little bit about the context for the doctorate, and this is something else that we have come across, is firstly, doctoral programs in the arts are recent. They only emerged 15 to 20 years ago. And I have been involved in research assessment in the UK for 30 years. And I can say it was only after the first research assessment exercises in 1980 that doctoral programs began to explode. And the growth of doctoral programs in the UK has been exponential. But it has been in response to those very formal processes of research assessment. And I've already mentioned in the practice-based arts, we need new types of scholarship for the types of doctorates that are emerging. But the final point is that alongside the traditional PhD, there have been many career routes that have emerged for people involved in the arts, candidates involved in the arts. And in the last 10 years or so, there's been the emergence of what's called professional doctorates, or practice-based doctorates, or practice-led doctorates. And one of the difficulties is that they're slightly different in design. And one of the difficulties has been that when an institution proposes a PhD to an awarding body as practice-led, what they're really proposing is a professional PhD. And it gets turned down because it has not addressed itself as that. And if you kind of look at it in a broader sense, what the characteristics are, a subject specialist doctorate, which is the most common and long-standing type of research degree, that's a PhD, it focuses on original research that contributes new insights and understandings to an academic field. What the professional doctorate will do, and it's most recently emerging, and some of the examples of it are a doctorate in fine art, a doctorate of music, doctorate in performing arts, and the Creator Doctus program, which I mentioned earlier, which came through the Erasmus program. But what the professional doctorate will do, it's intended for practitioners and or professionals who have work experience and mastery of a profession that could be advanced by the application of research to that professional area. So it's not a contribution to the academic field, it's a contribution to the professional area. So subject specialist doctorates offer new insights and understandings in an academic field through research. Professional doctorates advance professional practices or organizational structures through the application of research. And often we have to remember, whatever these categorizations are, that all doctorates are research degrees, whatever type they are, and they have to have a foundation in research. So if we come back to this, having made those broad comments, if we come back to this framework of good practices, and which I can't go through in detail, and I think I'm soon coming out of time, this is the contents of this, which I think you would probably find all of the issues that needed to be dealt with explained. And if EQ Arts was approached by an accreditation authority, these are the types of things we would advise them to pay attention to in order to ensure that an institution should be licensed to award a third cycle degree. And most of these things, in fact, are not different to the things you would find in a standard PhD or a standard doctorate in other areas, other fields of research in the sciences or the social sciences. There are some, however, that are slightly different. And if I can just mention a couple, the admission criteria are quite important with areas of artistic research and how an application is judged. Normally, in discovery science, the student would be expected to be clear about the research questions they were going to ask. Often in artistic research, the student is not clear at the beginning of the work what the questions are, but they go through a process of excavation, and it is only by the end of the research do they have clarity on the research questions that led that work to a conclusion. Now that places a big pressure on the supervisors and the admissions process, because you have to put some kind of caution in at the beginning that the student is not going to flounder in the first year of their study, and that the supervisors are well qualified and experienced to deal with this. Now, the second point about this I'd raise is in supervision. I mean, I think I can honestly say that not all good artists or artistic researchers make good supervisors. Some do, some don't. And not all supervisors are good arts practitioners. And there's not a straight equivalence there. But in order to protect the student, it is very, very important that the institution has some form of training supervisors in areas of artistic research and updating that supervision regularly so that people are aware of developing standards, new practices, and the things that are happening in other institutions. Now, the final thing I'd like to just comment on before I stop, and I'm happy to answer questions on the detail if you want to know more, is the question of examination. Now, there are a number of issues about the construction of the Board of Examiners, which I'll not deal with, which is a complex process and needs attention. What I'd like to deal with, though, is what is submitted for examination. And in most cases, it is described as a substantial body of work. Now, in artistic research, that substantial body of work may include objects, environment, sounds. It may include text. It may be all text. It may be non-text. It depends on the institution and what they decide is most appropriate. However, if there's a viva voce examination and the examiners understand that substantial body of work when the doctoral candidate is present and explains it, but if that body of work is not intelligible once the doctoral candidate has left the room, that is something to consider. Because in artistic research, I would say like in any other area of research, if you're adding to the pool of knowledge, you need to produce a substantial body of work that is both discoverable and accessible by a remote audience, maybe 10 or 20 years in the future. And that does not always depend on the doctoral candidate being there to explain it. So that final body of work for the examination is something that each institution has to think about carefully and how they frame it. So I think I will stop at that stage and allow questions if you want them. And if you did want this pamphlet, which would help your discussions, if you go on the EQ Arts website, eqarts.org, if you go to downloads, and then you take the title of this pamphlet, you can find a free downloadable PDF there. So I will stop.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this very useful and interesting talk. And I fear that we have no time for questions, but perhaps we can write them down. If somebody has questions, we can write them in the chat for future answers. So, but thank you very much. And we have another speaker in this session. Is Paula Albuquerque, an artist and scholar with a postdoc in artistic research at the University of Amsterdam. She is the head of the Master of Artistic Research at this university and senior researcher at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy. Her artworks have been exhibited in New Dakota Gallery, Museum Bureau Amsterdam, Radboud Projects Gallery, always again in Amsterdam, International Film Festival Rotterdam, Sheffield Document Fest. She also published a book, Enter the Ghost, Anti-Media Ecologies, and the webcam as an emerging cinematic medium, 2018. She is introducing a very important topic, the 3 models of the third cycle. Starting from this, she will focus on somatic and artificial intelligence, epistemic production at the Rietveld Academy. Welcome, please welcome Paula Albuquerque.
Well, thank you very much for this invitation. I will be mainly focusing on our experience of the CRD. So I feel like my presentation is actually quite complementary to the one we just had by Professor Brown. And I will be sharing my screen. So, okay, so I will be mainly reading from my notes, and these are based on pre-existing information, most of it from a text by Dr. Jeroen Omgaard, who could not be here today, and some other information that is actually produced by the artists themselves who are participating in the CRD. So beginning with our project in third cycle education in the arts at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy, there are now 3 models. These are the Creator Doctus, so the CRD, which is currently in its 2nd edition, the Professional Doctorate, the PD, which is being modeled into its first pilot nationwide, actually, in the Netherlands. And finally, the PhD, which entails a flexible protocol that is decided between a university with the power to award a degree and a practice-oriented supervision provided by the Rietveld Academy. This is the PhD that I actually did, which was then followed by a postdoc, following the same model. My main focus will be on the Creator Doctus, which is a degree created to complement the current Doctor of Philosophy PhD by recognizing artists' work as high standard research. With a specific trajectory, the 3-year research period leads to the production of a body of artistic works or projects instead of the traditional third cycle written dissertation. This reflects the research area which has been decided and developed in collaboration with a societal partner. So after years of preparation, the first CRD pilot was launched in 2017 with a project by Yael Davids, an artist, in collaboration with the Van Abbe Museum in Eindhoven, in the Netherlands. This was the first test for the model in which an artist conducts research for 3 years in collaboration with a social institution, with the end result consisting of artistic output. However, in this case, art is here to be carried out as research, which implies it must be able to present itself as research. During a pilot, it is possible to carefully analyze processes and results. The researcher who takes part in the pilot needs to be ready to engage with an experimental trajectory, which does not offer a resounding title or expensive diploma. That requires a great deal of flexibility due to the supporting frame not yet being solid. David's research trajectory has exceeded our expectations for the CRD and further helped develop it in the process. Our main priorities from the start were to ensure excellent supervision for the research and an experienced and internationally renowned assessment committee. Cher Doraf was the supervisor on behalf of the Rietveld Academy, and Nick Akins on behalf of the Van Abbe Museum. Doraf, at that time affiliated with the Academy as a senior researcher, is an internationally recognized expert in the field of artistic research with vast experience in supervising and assessing third cycle research in various European countries. Akins is a curator at Van Abbe and directs the research program Defined Practice. The results of the research consisted of installations that Davids had made in the context of Documenta 14 in Kassel, Feldenkrais lessons in the Van Abbe Museum, texts she had written in connection with this, and a closing exhibition in the museum with a visitor's guide written by her. The results also included a report of the study, a reasoned account of the steps, and choices for adjustments made in the course of the study. After a 6-month delay due to COVID-19 pandemic, to the pandemic, David's defense took place on September 28, 2020 at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy. Due to the ongoing pandemic, some of the assessment committee members were only able to attend digitally and were also unable to participate in any of David's Feldenkrais classes and visit the exhibition. The committee consisted of Dora Garcia Lopez, artist and professor of contemporary art at the Oslo National Academy of the Arts. Jennifer Lacey, head of dance at Stockholm University of the Arts. Grant Watson, curator and researcher in London, specializing in curatorial theory. Francisca Zolion, art historian and curator, and since 2012, director of GFZK in Leipzig. Sruti Bala, associate professor in theater studies at the University of Amsterdam. Flavia Zodan, writer, media analyst, cultural critic, and senior researcher at the Sandberg Institute, and myself in the quality of head of the Master of Artistic Research at the University of Amsterdam and as senior researcher at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy. Both the experience with the results of artistic research and international reputation were paramount in the selection of the evaluation committee members. The experiment with the Creator Doctus can only be called successful if it contributes to international recognition of the trajectory. It was therefore of great importance that an Erasmus Plus grant was obtained in 2018 for a 3-year partnership with a number of European academies to explore the possibilities of the CRD. In addition to the Gerrit Rietveld Academy, this coalition consisted of EQ Arts, which Professor John Brown just gave a presentation about, which is an international accreditation organization based in Amsterdam, the Glasgow School of Art, the Vilnius Academy of the Arts, the Athens School of Fine Arts, the Merz Academie in Stuttgart, the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts in Copenhagen, and the École Nationale Supérieure d'Art de Paris-Cergy. In addition to symposia and training sessions, the intensive collaboration resulted in 2 publications and a final exhibition. The publications, which are the Creator Doctus Constellation, Exploring a New Model for a Doctorate in the Arts, and a Framework of Good Practices for 3rd Cycle Doctoral Awards in the Creative and Performing Arts and Design sector, explore the possibilities and obstacles of a 3rd cycle in art research, and provide a guide to the design of such trajectories. Part of the collaboration was also the setting up of an international survey of existing 3rd cycle programs for the arts. So for the publications, you can follow the link on the PDF. The Erasmus collaboration ended with an exhibition and a symposium moderated by myself. The exhibition, Processing Space-Times, curated by Astrid Corporal in the New Dakota Art Space in Amsterdam, showed work by international artists who were pursuing or had completed a 3rd cycle education. This exhibition offered little text and explanation, with the work standing alone as epistemic manifestations of research. Quoting Jeroen Boomgaard, beginning of quote, "Each of them evoked a world, or rather worlds, that lay outside the exhibition space and even outside art, but which came together convincingly in the work, and evidence based on thorough research," end of quote. These results made clear how a 3rd cycle track in the arts can distinguish itself from more academic disciplines. The completed research by Davids and the ongoing 2nd CRD pilot research by Femke Hedegraven also show the specific ability of art research to bring elements together in a sensory construction. As the results of Davids and Herengraven demonstrate, art research makes visible connections which a research dissertation would not, due to getting stuck in fragments that cannot be brought together by purely discursive terms. Only the sensory tools artists develop can manifest content at this level. Well-executed artistic research eludes the laws of discourse. It cannot be explained in linguistic terms, which impacts on supervision and assessment. Dorff and Aikens learned that supervising David's research required them to become part of it, and thus, so as to understand the potential effect of the Feldenkrais classes, they took weekly classes from Davids. Artistic results of third cycle research deserve primary attention from the assessment committee to shift the debate during the public defense away from the textual elements. However, we are still researching how best to manifest results, as the committee needs more time and energy to really engage with the research as it manifests materially as artwork. Visiting the exhibition and attending the performance seem not to be enough. Should the results fall, when we're talking about research results, if they fall outside the area recognized and acknowledged by the peers of the respective fields of research, artistic research can resort to methods from other disciplines by choosing a position in the non-limited, uncharacterized field of interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, and transmediality. So the book you are seeing here is published a few months ago by Arias Amsterdam, a platform that brings together all the educational institutions in Amsterdam, and has been edited by Jeroen Boomgaard, Katie Clark, and Lieke Scholz. I will now share information about Jael Davids' CRD in collaboration with the Van Abbe Museum in Eindhoven, whose work focused on the Feldenkrais technique as a method for somatically experiencing art. The exhibition, A Daily Practice, consists of a selection of David's own work, varying from sculpture to performance and installation, presented throughout 10 galleries in combination with works by such artists as Hilma af Klint, Lee Lozano, Adrian Piper, and Stanley Brown. A number of these works were being exhibited in the Netherlands for the first time. Additionally, a program was devised by the artist entitled The School, consisting of demonstrations and Feldenkrais classes, which had to be postponed for 6 months due to the pandemic. In this program, which took place in September 2020, Davids offered newly conceived classes in relation to works in the Van Abbe Museum's collection. Davids' research, commissioned by the Van Abbe Museum, focuses on somatic learning and is inspired by the work of Moshe Feldenkrais, who developed a method based on the principle that changing the way we move leads to a change in how we think, observe, and feel. This principle has inspired David's approach to the museum, its collection, and the exhibition, where she challenged habitual patterns of looking at art within the walls of the museum. For the Van Abbe, the exhibition represented a step in the development of new ways for visitors to experience art through movement and the whole body, rather than only with the eye and the intellect, stimulated by a vertical positioning in the space. The focus of David's research, A Daily Practice, consisted of 3 phases. In the first phase, Davids realized a reading that loves, a physical act, for Documenta 14. In Athens, the work manifested as an installation, and in Kassel as a performance installation. The work combined moments when David's own personal biography intersects with history and the life stories of 4 women, each a cultural historical icon in their own right. The 4 female protagonists suffered complex societal conflicts in which each was confronted with the limits and creativity of their own selves. In the second phase of the research, the position of somatic learning in primary education in the Netherlands is central. This phase combines theoretical and artistic research with workshops in Eindhoven for professionals in primary education. The Feldenkrais method allows a non-normative exploration of one's own body movements to form your own sense of self, independent of existing conventions. This method can form a valuable addition to current primary education. David's workshops took place in the framework of a werksalon in the Van Auken Museum. In the third and last phase, together with the Gerrit Rietveld Academy, Van Auken Museum and partners in primary education, Davids wants to explore if somatic learning can be embedded in current educational practice. These are more views of the exhibition, and this is her curatorial project. I will now conclude with an overview of the work developed by our current CRD candidate, artist Femke Hedegraven, whose work in collaboration with the Wacht Society in Amsterdam focuses on artificial intelligence and the catastrophe bombs trade. The second CRD trajectory started in 2002 between Sandberg Institute and the Wacht Society in Amsterdam. Hedegraven has been selected for this pilot with her research project Evacuated, whilst also posing the question, how can a PhD dissertation of an artist be an artwork rather than a text? In a time when financial markets trade in potential future catastrophes, so-called cat bonds, the CRD trajectory starts from a question of agency. What is left to say about a future that is already mapped, calculated, and traded on financial markets as a catastrophe? The Evacuated investigates how the catastrophe can be overcome as an anxious, monetized eventuality in the current discourse of doom, and instead be reactivated as a plot device and create a sudden turn in dominant stories of techno-capitalism and knowledge. The trajectory is supervised by Chris Julian on behalf of the Wacht, which is an institute that operates at the intersection of science, technology, and the arts, and Flavia Zogan, senior researcher and writer on behalf of the Sandberg Institute, which is the institute that harbors the master programs of the Gerrit Rietveld Academy. The co-funding for this second pilot is provided by the Creative Industries Fund, while the funding for the first CRD for Yael Davids was actually provided by the Mondrian Fund. And finally, after several years of preparation, a pilot for a professional doctorate in Dutch universities of applied sciences like the Gerrit Rietveld Academy will start at the beginning of 2023. The art academies have developed their own model for this pilot, which in terms of requirements and possibilities is very similar to the CRD, namely also due to our influence in the policy making, but is based on a research period of 4 years full-time or a maximum of 8 years part-time. That pilot will also have to prove itself, demonstrate that it can compete with existing PhD programs and be accepted as an equivalent title. For the Rietveld, the central question is how the two models relate to each other and whether we want to connect them to one another or to keep them both alongside each other, if funding permits, obviously. Most importantly, however, art research must prove itself in the next 5 years. It should show what it can do. It should give the concepts of impact and social value on which art research, but also much research in the humanities and social sciences is repeatedly judged negatively. So it should give these concepts an interpretation that makes clear how the power of art affects society. The first results of the CRD are promising in this regard. David's project was followed up at the Migros Museum in Zurich. The book will be published shortly, in which it is extensively documented. A workbook that should make it possible for others to get started, but David's research also has a direct impact on the participants of her Feldenkrais classes and on the Van Auken Museum where they took place. we expect our second CRD to have the same similar amount of impact. So now I'm going to try and stop sharing. And that was my presentation. I think my face was out of the screen most of the time. But well.
Thank you very much for these very interesting examples of the creator doctors and PhDs in the arts. And if we have questions, perhaps we can write them down on the chat. And I really want to thank all the the people involved in this conference. Perhaps we may have a little break, and please remain with us for future talks. And thanks again.